Yeah, I will start from the beginning. The crystal field splitting in octahedral complex with the coordination number 6. Okay. Now here I have told you what the crystal field theory says is that the metal which is there, it's a stationary, correct? Metal is stationary, so they will be present in the center. And the ligands are the one who are moving. Okay. So these ligands, now since it is octahedral complex, there are 6 ligands. So these 6 ligands will be approaching the metal, okay, from infinity. Now here, one more thing students, when we are talking about octahedral complex, this metal which is there will be present in the octahedral void. Okay, the metal which is present will be present in the octahedral void. Tetrahedral complex, and if you are discussing the crystal field splitting in tetrahedral complex, the metal which is present, that will be present inside the tetrahedral void. Are you able to imagine this much? When I tell you octahedral complex, you should imagine that the metal which is present, that is present inside the octahedral void. Okay, so if you want to form an octahedral void, then how it will be? Okay, the metal should get enclosed inside that octahedral void. Okay, so here see, metal you will put in the center of the cube, because we are talking about the solid state here. So metal will be in the center of the cube, okay, occupying that center region of the cube, and then ligands will approach in such a way that the whole system will form the octahedral. Okay, so if the ligand has to come and cover this metal to form the octahedral void, how are they supposed to approach? So you are able to see here, and this also we have discussed, they should approach from the faces. Okay, they should approach from the faces of the unit cell. So if they approach from the faces of the unit cell, as you can see here, see, this was ligand 1. I will number them. Okay, 1, first one I have numbered here, 1, and then 2, then here see 3, third phase, this is the fourth phase, this is the fifth one, and then this is the sixth one. 6 phases of the cube. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6 I have labeled. So 6 phases of the cube, the ligand should approach and it will close the metal, okay, which will form the octahedral complex. See, like this. Finally, it will look like this. So your metal will be in the center here. Okay, finally when they have approached, you will see that the metal is in the center. Okay, M plus I'm writing in the center, and then this are the ligands which are finally coming and approaching the metal, okay, to form that octahedral complex. So if you join, you are able to see, see this one plane where 4 ligands are present. Okay, this I have one plane where 4 ligands are present. Then if I join this, the upper ligand with the 4 ligands which are present on the plane, if I join, I will get the pyramid like this. Okay, see, in this way. So you are able to get 8 faces, so it is called as octahedral. This much was clear, no? Then after this I explained, here you are able to see that in the octahedral complex, metal is enclosed in the octahedral void. After that, I spoke about the axis of the metal. So this is the one picture which I could get, okay, to show you all the d orbitals which are present, okay, in the metal. So now here is the cube and center is the metal. Okay, center is the metal which is having all these axes. All the axes are put together now. So you are able to see on the axis, when the ligands are approaching, the metals, the axial orbitals are exactly in alignment with the ligands. Okay, the axial orbitals. Which are the axial orbitals? That is d x square minus y square and d z square. Okay, these two orbitals are exactly in alignment with the ligands. Okay, where the ligands are approaching, there exactly you are able to see. Now see this one, this purple one, dx square minus y square. This is on the axis, no, and the ligands are also approaching on that same axis. Okay, then we have dz square. There is also one more orbital. See down here on the z axis, you are able to see. Okay, one is behind here. I don't think so it will be visible, but then you should remember that these orbitals are exactly on the axis. Okay, these orbitals are exactly on the axis. Metals orbital when you are drawing. Okay, so you will find axial orbitals are the one who comes in alignment with the ligands, and the non-axial orbitals, so this one, see the green one, the yellow ones you are able to see here, this green one and the yellow one, they are present in between. So they will come and touch the edges. Okay, able to see this, they touch the edges of the cube. Okay, whereas this one are on the faces, the axial ones are on the faces. Axial ones are on the faces, I'm repeating. Okay, Axial ones come on the faces of the cube, whereas the non-axial ones are coming on the edges of the cube. See here, I'll just draw the line. See, this one. The green one and the yellow ones are coming on the edges of the cube. This much is clear, students. Last time it was difficult for few of you to imagine, so I thought at least whatever pictures I've got, I've put here. Yes, no? Yeah. After that, what we have discussed. So this is about the orientation of the orbitals and the metal axis. That's it I have mentioned. Now coming to getting the ligand now. Now we will bring the ligand. Okay. So I will place a metal in the center. So I have placed the metal in the center, and now we will bring the ligand. Okay. Now imagine it has not come so near, it is far. You imagine it is very far. Okay. So if the ligand is coming from very far distance, your metal orbitals has electrons, correct? No? Metal orbitals has electrons which are negatively charged, and your ligand also contains electrons which are negatively charged. Okay. So I've told you, when two charged particles come nearby, if they are of same kind, they will experience some repulsion. Okay. And that field where they experience a repulsion, that is called as like if they are electric charges, we call them as electric field. Now here we are talking about the ionic bond. No, so this is called as crystal field. So these ligands which are there, they have their own charged field. They have the field around them, and these metals are also having a field around them. So what will happen? These field, okay, will exert some force on the another field. Okay, so suppose if the ligands are very far, the force which is exerted by the orbitals, okay, all the orbitals of the metal, it will be same. Okay, it will not be different, it will be same. Like I told you, you can imagine this in this way. I told you the example of the sun. When you observe the sun, everyone feels that the sun is above them. Okay, because sun is very far from us, so it appears that sun is above us, because when they are very far, the radiation which is given, okay, it's a symmetrical or spherically symmetrical from all the direction. Okay, so one example I had given you about the sun. Okay, when they are very far, everyone feels that I am experiencing that, I am experiencing that. Okay, when they are very far. Even I gave you example of, if you are imagining a train which is going to come from very far distance, when they look very tiny, okay, when they are very far, okay, and if you have many railway tracks, okay, 5-6 railway tracks are there. If you are standing in the main junction, you will see there are many tracks. So if the train is coming from very far, everyone feels that the train is going to come on this track, okay, they will have their own imagination. Okay, this is coming towards this side, but when they are nearing towards you, you will exactly understand where they are going. Okay, but when they are very far, everyone feels that it is coming towards me, it is coming towards me. Okay, so here also the metals which is there in the center, okay, they will experience the same repulsion when the ligands are very far. Okay, so that means the repulsion which is experienced, that is spherically symmetrical, means it is same for everybody. Okay, this was also clear to everyone. When the ligands are very far, when they have not come nearby, okay, when they are very far, all the metal orbitals will experience the same repulsion. Okay, and whenever there is repulsion, always remember, okay, when they are coming from far, it is called as far field. Okay, when they are coming from far, we call it as far field. So when there is a repulsion experience little also, there will be excitation. Okay, always there will be excitation taking place. Due to the repulsion, there is excitation, but all the orbitals will get excited in a similar manner. Okay, all will excite in a similar manner. But now when the ligand is approaching nearby, okay, now I will remove this. Now imagine the ligand has come closer by, and you are having metal orbitals. No, this is our metal, and these are the orbitals which are present exactly on the axis. The red ones I'm showing here. Okay, these are exactly on the axis, and the ligands are also coming exactly on the axis here. Now the ligand has come closer by. Okay, I have put the ligand closer by. Now when the ligand has come closer by, so the orbital now which are present exactly on the line of the ligand, okay, exactly which are there on the line of the ligand, only experience more repulsion because it's coming closer to them. Whereas there are orbitals which are present in between. No? That I will show with another color. See now here, there are orbitals which are in between, like this. See, like this, there are orbitals here, there are orbitals. Okay, in between there are orbitals this way, which will touch the edges. Okay, So now they are in between. They are at 45-degree angle. Who are the one who is exactly experiencing the ligand, who are on the path of the ligand? That is only these orbital. Okay, that is d x square minus y square orbital, and then we have d z square orbital. Okay, so from all the direction you can see the ligands coming. See now this side, I will show you the top one. Okay, the top ligand coming. So exactly you can see an orbital over here. So this will experience a repulsion, that is dx square minus y square. Even here there is a ligand, behind there is a ligand, front there is a ligand. Okay, the behind and the front ligand is giving repulsion for the dz square axis. Okay, and then this side there is a ligand which is coming. This ligand on the right side I've put, okay, the right side ligand will be giving repulsion to the d x square minus y square orbital, and then we have the ligand which is down. Okay, that is also going to give the repulsion to dx square minus y square orbital. Okay, so here the one who is exactly on the path of the ligand, they will be experiencing more repulsion, and the one who is in between, they will be experiencing less repulsion. Okay, now when there is repulsion, somehow they should reduce that repulsion. So to reduce that repulsion, what they try to do, they undergo splitting. Okay, so when they are coming nearby, okay, when they are near, that is called as near field. Okay, when they are very close to the orbital, when the ligand comes very close to the orbital, that is called as near field. So when it is near field, that time it is not spherical. Okay, then they will obtain that octahedral symmetry. So when they are very nearby, finally, okay, the orbitals are not able to take that repulsion. So finally they undergo splitting. To minimize that repulsion, they undergo splitting. Okay, so this splitting which happens in the octahedral field is called as octahedral splitting. Okay, so then after this, I had drawn and shown it to you. Okay, now this was the same thing which I had discussed in the last class. Far field means spherically symmetrical, it leads to excitation. Okay, and when they are nearby, yeah, they split due to repulsion because they can't take it. No, see now the ligand is coming very closer by. So somehow they should reduce that energy. So what is the best way they can reduce that energy? Okay, when there is repulsion very high, so they try to split it up. Okay, it's like, see, imagine if two people, okay, I gave you this also example. If two people are dominating and every time they keep fighting, so can they live together when this continues, when it is more and more, when it is more and more? Then it can't, no, they can't take it. Then what is the best way? Get separated. Okay, like when it is not tolerable, okay, when it is not tolerable in that case, yeah, then they will undergo splitting. Okay, so it's like almost the same chemistry, the emotions which happens in the human beings and whatever you study in the bonding and everything is almost the same only. Okay, almost the same. So here also same thing happens when they can't take that repulsion. So to minimize that, they try to split. Okay, they undergo splitting. That I have shown you here. Correct? No, that diagram, I said no, that orbital diagram is important for you. Okay, so here finally, see the metal d orbital. I'll take another color. See this black one. So here metal d orbital, all the d orbitals we are having dxy, dyz, dxz, dx square minus y square and dz square. These were having same energy. Okay, they were having same energy initially. But when the ligands are just going to approach, okay, as the ligand is just going to approach, all of them got excited. Okay, this I gave you one more example to explain these excitation. I said if one speaker is there and he's talking about some concept, and there are 5 people who are sitting, okay, in the audience there are 5 students or 5 people who are sitting. So if the speaker points at somebody, so then all of the 5 got excited because they didn't knew whom they are pointing to, who that the speaker is exactly pointing to. They did not understand, so all of them got excited. Okay, so they will get excited, their energy will increase, correct? No, because they don't know whom they are asking, so all of them will get equally excited. So here we write average energy of the d orbital. Okay, when there is spherical crystal field. Spherical crystal field means when the ligands are very far, everyone thinks that the ligand is coming, all the orbitals, okay, the orbitals of the metal thinks that the ligand is coming towards us. Okay, everyone experiences the same repulsion. But when the ligand exactly comes closer, when the ligand exactly comes closer, the one which are near, okay, the one which are near, they will experience more repulsion, and the one who are in between, they will experience less repulsion. So then finally they undergo splitting. As you can see, the near ones are dx square minus y square and dz square, no, because these are exactly on the axis. So they experience more repulsion. So they have gone to the higher energy state. Okay, and the one who are experiencing less repulsion, who were thinking, okay, it is coming towards my way, later they understood, okay, they are not coming towards us. They will lose their energy. That energy will get transferred, okay? Whatever energy they have lost, that energy they will transfer to these dx square minus y square and z square. So they will get excited to the higher energy state, okay? And the average energy where they got separated, see, this was the place, no, where exactly they got separated. That center is called as barycenter. Okay, the center where they got separated. The average energy, okay, the average energy of the d orbitals, that is barycenter. And this difference what we have got after they have undergone splitting, this difference is written as delta O. It is delta O. Okay, not 0. It is delta O. O stands for octahedral. This O stands for octahedral. Okay, and how much is the energy difference? The energy difference should be same, no? Whatever energy they have lost, these three orbitals have lost, same energy is gained by the upper two orbitals. Okay, so this difference should come out same. This difference which we have written here, no, this difference, I'm talking about this difference. Okay, the down one, I'm putting an arrow mark. See this difference, this one, down one, 2 by 5 I have written, and then this 3 by 5 should come out as similar. Okay, so what we try to do is we try to take the energy 3:2 ratio, no, because 3 orbitals have gone down and 2 orbitals have gone up out of 5. So I have written as 3 by 5 and 2 by 5. So this energy should be made equal. So how do we make it equal? This 3 by 5 we multiply with 2, okay, and 2 by 5 you multiply by 3, then you will get 6 by 5 and 6 by 5. Okay, so this is just a calculation which they have done to get the equal energy. Okay, is it clear now? Did everyone understand what happens exactly and how does the splitting takes place and how to explain these orbital energy diagram, d orbital energy diagram? You have written down, no? This much you have written, everyone? Yes. Then we'll go for the next one. Okay. We'll go for the next one. So I thought let me explain about the tetrahedral also. Okay. Because now you got to know, no, what exactly happens. So let us go for the tetrahedral as well. Now you can tell me, students, in crystal field splitting of tetrahedral complex, what is the coordination number here? Tetrahedral complex. Yes, coordination number, CN number is 4. Yeah, coordination number over here is 4. Yes, very good, correct. Coordination number is 4. So now here, when I tell you crystal field splitting in tetrahedral, where is the metal located? That metal ion which is present, okay, the stationary ion, that is inside the tetrahedral void. Okay, this metal ion is present inside the tetrahedral void. Okay, this is present inside the tetrahedral void. So now you have to show that. So here I have taken the picture directly. You are able to see a metal is in the center. Okay, this is a picture which I've got. Metal we have in the center. See this one. This is our metal which is present inside the cube. Okay, positive metal ion. And if it is tetrahedral, see how is the geometry? When you see in the cube, the tetrahedral void, okay, if you remember, it was like this, okay, at alternate position. See here, one ligand on this side, one ligand on this side, okay, and then leave the other place and go for the next place. So here, okay, so another ligand is on the opposite direction, and then come down. When you are coming down, okay, alternate position you take. See exactly down you have this position, leave that, go to the another position, okay, this position. So this one, and then again alternate opposite to that. Okay, it's like if you take a cube, on the top you take diagonally one position and down you take diagonally another position, but opposite, okay, in opposite direction. See like this, you should get like a cross. See now here, these ligand are opposite to one another. in this way, okay? And then these two ligands are opposite to one another in this way. So like if you see them, it looks like a cross, no? If you see from the top, it will be like a cross. Okay, so that is tetrahedral. That will be the tetrahedral. Okay, where tetrahedral void will be formed. So they are present, this metal which is there in the center, they will be present inside the tetrahedral void, like when they come closer by, no, like this. When they come closer by, this is how it will be. Okay, it will look this way. So now you know the metal axis. I will draw the metal axis and show you. This was where the ligands are approaching, no? So if I have to show you the metal axis, these are the axes here. Y axis is shown here on this side. And then we have Z axis here. And this is the X axis. Okay, this is the X axis. So here you will have that orbitals, that is dx square. You will have dx square and y square orbital present in this direction, and you will have dz square present in this direction. Okay, and then the remaining orbitals, that is dxy, dxy, dyz, and dxz. That is remaining. No, that will be present over here. See, this way, this direction they will be present. Okay, this direction they will be present like this. Now, where is the ligand approaching? Which direction is the ligand approaching? Are they coming towards the axial orbital or they are coming towards non-axial orbital? In the tetrahedral, if you are able to see the axis properly, axis of the metal I have drawn in green color. Okay, the non-axial one I have drawn in the red color. Yes, so in the tetrahedral case, if you see properly, these ligands are approaching towards the non-axial direction. Okay, they are coming from the non-axial direction. Yeah, so who will experience more repulsion? Now, who will experience more repulsion? If the ligands are coming from the non-axial direction, then dxy, dyz, and dxz. These are the one who are present in the non-axial position, no? And the ligand is also approaching in that direction. So these will be the one who will be experiencing more repulsion. Whereas your dx square minus y square and dz square orbital are there. They are present exactly on the axis where the ligands are not coming. Okay, the ligands are not coming this way. They are coming from the non-axial direction. So here these metal orbitals, okay, the orbital which are exactly on the axis, they will experience, that is this axial ones are there, they will experience less repulsion. Okay, these will experience less repulsion, whereas the non-axial ones will be experiencing more repulsion. So now you know the one who experiences more repulsion, they will go to the higher energy state. The one who experiences less repulsion will go to the lower energy state. So this is exactly opposite to what you have learned in the octahedral. Okay, octahedral you saw that dx square minus y square and z square were exactly on the axis and the ligand were also coming from the same direction. So they experienced more. So they went to the higher. Here it is exactly opposite. The non-axial ones are on the path of the ligand. So they will be experiencing more repulsion. So how will you draw the orbital diagram and show? See, this is how you are supposed to draw now. First you draw this energy thing. Okay, first you will draw this energy. And then you draw the 5 orbital. It is similar, okay? Similar to what we did for the octahedral. So you draw 5 lines. These 5 lines are for 5 metal d orbital, okay? So you will write here, the metal, these are metal d orbitals. These are metal d orbitals. You can mention the d orbital, that is d xy, dxy, dyz, dxz, then we have dx square minus y square, and then dz square. Okay, so these are the 5 d orbitals. Now, when the ligands are very far, you know, all of them will experience same repulsion, correct? No, all will get excited. Okay, all of them will get excited to higher energy state. So you get them to the higher energy state now. Okay, so I will take all of them to the higher energy state because all are excited. So 3 here, and then 4, and then 5. Okay, here you should write down average energy of the d orbital in spherical crystal field. That is important. You should write average energy of the d orbitals in spherical crystal field. Spherical crystal field. Okay. Because all of them are experiencing same repulsion. Now you get to know that over here, the one who are exactly on the path, that is dxy, dyz, and we have dxz. Okay. These are experiencing more repulsion here. These are experiencing more repulsion. So you get them to the higher energy state. So you will bring them to the higher energy state. Okay. So these three I am putting it up now. And the remaining two, they will see now if these three have gone to the higher energy state, the remaining two, who were experiencing less repulsion, they will transfer their energy, due to they have transferred the energy, these three went to higher energy state, and those two will lose their energy, so they will go to the lower energy state. Okay. So the energy difference between these three and these two orbitals should be same. And the place exactly where they got separated, that center you will write as Barry center. Okay, this center you will call as Barry center. Now, how much will be the difference? See, how will you write down? 3 has gone up. So, you will write 2 by 5. Okay, and 2 has gone down. So, remaining is 3. No, so you write like 3 by 5. You can remember in that way. Okay, 2 has gone down. So, 3 by 5. 3 has gone up. So, 2 by 5. Now, this difference, the difference between them, okay, this will be called as delta. This will be referred as delta. Because it is for tetrahedral, you will write as delta T. Okay. And these three orbitals, students, it is referred as T2. Okay. Triply. It is not generate now because here the energies are not same. It is about symmetry thing. Okay. Tetrahedral doesn't have a symmetrical arrangement. So we don't write G. That G stands for symmetry. Whereas octahedral has a symmetry. So we don't make use of G here. You will just write T2 and E. Okay, that's it. T2 and E will be used. In tetrahedral, you just keep in mind, in tetrahedral, there is no symmetry. Okay, so we don't make use of G. That G stands for symmetry. In octahedral, there is a symmetry. Yes, now you can copy this down. You can mention the orbital also. These T2 orbitals are, I will take some other color. These are dxy, dyz, and dxz. Okay, whereas these are dx square minus y square and dz square. So this is the d orbital splitting in tetrahedral crystal field. D orbital splitting in tetrahedral crystal field. Yeah, copy this down now. Yes, did you understand, students, about this part? Did you understand the splitting part in octahedral as well as in tetrahedral? Anything you want to ask, you want explanation anywhere? The diagram part which I have explained. Any point which is not clear, you can ask now. If not, then I will proceed. No? Yeah, now we'll go for the next one. See, now here this splitting which has occurred, that delta T and delta naught you have seen, no? The splitting which takes place in the presence of the ligand. Okay, now which ligand will give you more splitting? That arrangement was found out experimentally. It was found out through spectroscopy. Okay, spectroscopy method was used to find out which ligand shows more kind of splitting. Okay, in tetrahedral and in octahedral, you have seen that splitting. That splitting changes. Okay, in some of the metal, now see here, if I have these are the degenerate orbital. Okay, degenerate orbital. Some will show very less amount of splitting. Okay, some will show very less, and some of the orbitals which are there, okay, they will go for a large splitting. okay, which gives an idea about the strong field and the weak field. Okay, so this idea we have got through spectroscopy, and that series where the ligands are arranged in the increasing order of their field strength, no, which is the stronger one, which is weaker one, okay, that we have experimentally found out, and we have that series. Okay, that series is called as spectrochemical series. Okay, that series is called as spectrochemical series, where we get the arrangement of the ligands in the increasing order of their field strength. Okay, so now I will give you that series. You can remember at least few. Okay, everything is not there. This series is very big. For your textbook, they have given only few ligands you can remember. So see the one which comes at the end. See, iodide is the weak field ligand. Now here we are arranging them the increasing order of their field strength. So weaker one we are arranging first. Okay, iodide comes first. Then after that, bromide, and then thiocyanate, SCN minus. Okay, then we have chloride, Cl minus. Then it is sulfide, S2 minus. Then it's fluoride. Okay, it is fluoride. Then we have hydroxide, OH minus. Then oxalate, C2O4, 2 minus, followed by water. Then isothiocyanate, SCS, NCS. Okay, it is NCS. Then EDTA, that is the iron one, iron form one. And then we have ammonia, then En, that is ethane 1,2 diamine, then cyanide, Cn minus, then it is CO, that is carbonyl. Okay, so this is the increasing order of their arrangement in the increasing order of their field strength. That means what, the carbonyl which I have written at the end, this carbonyl is the strongest one. Means if carbonyl comes, the crystal field splitting is going to be larger. Okay, if they are present along with the metal, you will see that the splitting is very large. But if you find there is iodide present, then the splitting is going to be very small. Okay, so this is the order, and this I said it is experimental. By seeing the ligand, they did not understand, okay, which is strong and which is weak. So experimentally, they had to find out through different complexes. Okay, so this is the final result which they have got. So you can write what is spectrochemical series. The arrangement of the ligand here, the arrangement of ligands, the arrangement of ligands in the order of increasing field strength, in the order of increasing field strength, is termed as spectrochemical series. It's termed as spectrochemical series. Okay, at least definition you should remember. In case if you're not able to remember the series they have not asked so far. For competitive exams, yeah, it is important. You should remember the series. Okay, but for your board exam, at least if you could remember the definition, it would do. Okay, this would be enough. Yeah, write this down now. What is spectrochemical series? So I said spectrochemical series is an experimental series which they have found out, okay, which gives you an idea about which ligand is stronger ligand and which ligand is the weaker one. Okay, and this is the arrangement. You can see iodide comes at the first category, means that is the weakest one. Okay, it is a weak one, and then the order is increasing, means as you come after that towards the right side, you can see that these ligands are becoming stronger and stronger. And carbonyl is the strongest one among all.